Hello everyone, Sobroni of G&A Reviews here with part 2 of our summer event guide for FGONA. This time we're going to be taking a look at Dead Heat Jail Escape, which is the second phase of the summer event. And in order to participate in this, you have obviously need to have beaten part 1, so if you still have to do it, make sure you go ahead and do it. And don't worry, part 1 of this event is still accessible even when part 2 comes out. So if you're still farming part 1 or you still have something to do there, it'll still be available, no worries. As always, this is going to be a very in-depth guide covering everything from new servants to the most efficient farming strategies, so to make things easier, there is a list of timestamps in the description so you can jump ahead to whichever part you need the most. One last thing I do want to mention is that the event structure for this portion of the event is extremely similar to part 1, so do make sure you see my first guide if you haven't already. So without further ado, let's get right into it by talking about the new servants. As soon as part 2 drops, we'll be getting a new banner with 3 limited servants on them. First up, we have the 5-star Saber Altar Rider, or Maid Altar. She is a 5-star rider with a max attack of 10,776 and a max HP of 14,256. She has a single target quick noble phantasm, and she's capable of dealing very high damage while also giving some good team support. Next up, we have the 4-star Helena. She's an archer with 9,446 attack and a max HP of 11,404. She has an AoE Arts Noble Phantasm, and her main strength is being able to support the team's NP charge. Finally, we have Minamoto no Raiko Lancer. She's a 4-star servant with a max attack of 9,168 and a max HP of 12,112. She has a single target Buster Noble Phantasm, and she is also capable of dealing very high damage while supporting the team. If you're interested in a more in-depth look at these servants so you can figure out if you want to roll for them or not, I do have a spotlight out for Maid Altar and Raiko, and I will be getting a spotlight out for Helena very soon, so check those in the description below. Along with those 3 new servants, we'll also be getting 4 new craft essences. 3 are going to be available in the gacha, while 1 is going to be available in the event shop. Starting with the gacha craft essences first, we have the 3-star Chaldea Beach Volleyball. It applies sure hit and increases your crit strength and crit drop rate by 2%. It'll also increase the drop rate of junk parts and candy by 2. You can limit break that to increase the critical star drop rate and crit strength to 3% and the drops by 3. Outside of the event, this is a very situational craft essence. It is good to have in case you need a sure hit for a boss or challenge quest. But moving on, we have the 4-star King Joker Jack. This is going to increase your buster card effectiveness by 8% and your NP strength by 8%. It'll also increase your defense by 3%. For this event only, it will also increase titanium plate drops and instant noodle drops by 2. If you max limit break it, it's going to increase your buster card effectiveness and NP strength by 10% and your defense by 5%, as well as increasing drops by 3. This is a good craft essence for offensive buster servants who may be a little fragile, servants like Raiko Lancer or Lu Bu. And the final gacha craft essence is going to be Moment of Midsummer. This increases your quick card effectiveness and your crit strength by 10%, and it also grants 3 crit stars per turn. For this event, it will also increase mag wheel and coin drops by 2. If you max limit break it, it's going to increase your quick card and critical strength by 15% and grant you 4 crit stars per turn, in addition to increasing drops by 3. Another strong craft essence, this time it's really good for self-sufficient quick crit servants like Okita, Ku Prototype, Maid Altar, and Kintoki Rider. And finally, we have the shop craft essence that you can purchase, which is Dive to Blue. This craft essence increases your arts card effectiveness and NP strength by 8%, and it'll increase your NP gauge by 30% at the start of the battle. In addition to that, for this event, it's going to increase the drops of coins, noodles, and candy by 1. If you max limit break it, it's going to increase your arts card effectiveness and NP strength by 10%, and start your battle off with 50% NP charge, in addition to increasing drops of all items by 2. This is an excellent craft essence, possibly the most important arts craft essence next to formal craft. It is extremely strong and worth putting on just about any arts attacker with a good noble phantasm, like Saber Lancelot or Robin Hood. I highly recommend trying to get 5 copies of this craft essence, as it's still very much relevant even in JP 2 years later. And those are going to be all the new craft essences. Let's move on to the event shop itself. Part 2 of the event is going to bring with it a whole new shop filled with new items for you to purchase and new currency. Our currency this time around is going to be gold coins, instant noodles, and candy drops. Starting off with the candy drops first, you'll be able to purchase 1 copy of Dive to Blue, as well as Shell of Recollection, Dragon Fangs, Hero's Proof, 3-star and 4-star foes, and 3-star and 4-star experience. The Instant Ramen will get you another copy of Dive to Blue, as well as Tear Stones, Eternal Gears, Serpent Jewels, Archer, Lancer, and Rider pieces, and 4-star foes. The gold coins will get you an additional 2 copies of Dive to Blue, as well as Gallstones, Evil Lamps, Knight Medals, Archer, Lancer, and Rider monuments, and 4-star foes. So if you plan on clearing out the shop, you're going to need a total of 10,900 gold coins, 9,400 instant noodles, and 8,700 candy drops. Just like with part 1, there's only 4 copies of the Event Craft Essence in the shop, so you need to rely on getting a 5th one to drop from the free quest if you plan on max limit breaking it. Also be aware that you'll be able to buy additional copies of Ishtar from the shop with a very special currency that you only earn by beating challenge quests. We'll go more in detail on that in the challenge quest section. Just like with part 1, this is going to be the exact same mechanic. It's going to be a race with 6 racers across 4 rounds. Each round is going to have 3 different free quests available for each team. These free quests are going to be called aid battles, and whenever you complete an aid battle for a team, you're going to be awarded points and they're going to move further ahead in the race, same exact style as part 1. Once all the racers cross the finish line, the round ends and the next round begins with the racers at a new starting line and new free quest available. Once all the rounds are done, just like with part 1, you can go back and farm wherever you want for more shop items or ascension mats, so no need to rush. However, there are going to be a couple of differences. For one thing, the racers are going to have different rewards this time around. If you remember from part 1, the racers that come in the top 3 positions are going to reward you with certain ascension materials, while the racers that come in 4th, 5th, and 6th will not reward you with their ascension materials. So it's your job to support whichever team you want, or all of them at once. The choice is yours, but at least make sure to complete 1 aid battle every round so you can get the rewards. The rewards this time for round 1 are going to be Helena's going to give Spinal Fluids, Raiko has Black Tar, Nero and Maid Alter have Dragon Fangs, Fran has Gallstones, Nobu has Seashells, and Nito has Talons. In round 2, Fran is going to have Hearts, Nito's going to have Scarabs, Nobu's going to have Void Dust, Raiko's going to have Chains, Nero's going to have Night Medals, and Helena is going to have Bloodstone Tears. In round 3, Nobu's going to have Spirit Roots, Raiko is going to have Wine, Nero is going to have Octuplet Crystals, Nito's going to have Lanterns, Fran is going to have Bicorn Horns, and Helena is going to have Bones. And finally, in round 4, Helena is going to have Reverse Dragon Scales, Nito is going to have Lamps, Nero is going to have Forbidden Pages, Raiko is going to have Hero's Proof, Fran is going to have Phoenix Plumes, and Nobu is going to have Longinose. Also, in place of the red, blue, and green nitro we had from round 1, those are going to be replaced with spoons, meat, and hammers. These serve the exact same function. They accelerate the racer you're supporting, and they provide your party with a buff. This time around, the spoon is going to give your party increased critical star generating by 100%, the meat's going to give your party increased NP gain rate by 50%, and the hammer is going to give your party an additional 50% NP damage. And just like last time, each team has their own preference. Helena and Nobu prefer the spoons, Nero and Nito prefer the meat, and Fran and Raiko prefer the hammer. Using these items for these teams is going to result in more bonus points, so make sure you use them appropriately. You'll also be awarded QP at the end of each round, depending on how many support points you have, so make sure you use these items liberally and do as many aid battles as you can. So as you can see, mechanically, this is the same exact thing as part 1, it's just a different coat of paint. The story is going to continue in part 2, so we're going to be getting new main quests. Just like last time, they're going to appear in the middle and ends of each round, and you won't be able to progress through the rounds until you finish the main quest. So even if round 2 begins, you won't be able to farm it or participate in it until you clear the main quest for round 1. The quests are slightly harder than in part 1, mostly because of some Avenger class bosses, but the main quests are still pretty easily and completely doable with just the guest supports, so everyone should have no issue completing it. I do suggest using a berserker like Lu Bu or Kyo if you have them though for the Avengers. This time around, your reward for completing all the main quests is unlocking Ishtar Rider permanently. she'll be completely unlocked once you finish Part 2's main quest, and you can purchase additional copies of her from the shop to level up her Noble Phantasm. You'll only be able to purchase these additional copies after beating the challenge quest, which provide you a special currency. And if you need those Ascension materials for her, remember, those Ascension mats are purchasable in the event shop for Part 1. So all in all, once you complete Part 1 and Part 2's story, and you buy her Ascension mats from the shop, and you complete the challenge quest in Part 2, you should have your fully leveled NP5 rider Ishtar. Now let's get into the nitty gritty, which is currency farming for this part of the event. Farming in this part is just as straightforward as it is in Part 1. Each round has a best location for farming one of each of the shop items. Do note that the craft essences from Part 1 will work for Part 2, so you do not need to roll for the new craft essences if you just want to farm. You can use the craft essences you have from Part 1. You can still use Moment of Midsummer, King Joker Jack, and Chaldea Beach Volleyball, of course, or you can mix and match. So all 6 of these craft essences are going to be useful for farming. Of course, you can also use your Dive into Blue, which is going to increase the drop amounts for all the items by 1. As usual, I do suggest rolling the Friend Point Gacha first to try and get that 3-star craft essence if you have the available FP. You should prioritize getting the event craft essence from the shop as well, because it boosts all item drops, making it excellent for farming. But do not max limit break it unless you have a lot of gacha craft essences to use in place of it. Unless you have 2 or more of each gacha craft essence, don't bother max limit breaking Dive into Blue, but do max limit break it after the end of the event. The bonus servants this time around are going to be the same, so make sure you include as many of them as possible on your support list and in the back row of your party just to maximize your efficiency. The best places to farm each shop item, just like last time, depend on the round. Of course, the higher the difficulty, the better the drops, so make sure you're farming the highest difficulty that you're able to do. Now let's go through the best farming locations round by round. In round 1, the best place to farm the candy drops is going to be Helena, Nero and Maid Altar are going to be the best spot for the instant ramen, and Raiko is going to be the best spot for the gold coins. When you get to round 2, the best place to farm the candy drops is going to be Fran, the best place to farm the instant noodles is going to be Nidocris, and the best place to farm the gold coins is going to be Nobu. Round 3 is a bit tricky because there is no optimal place to farm the candy drops, however your best bet is going to be farming Nero and Maid Altar. You'll also be able to farm either Raiko or Nidocris for the noodle drops, and the gold coin drops are going to be farmed at Nobu. And finally, in the last round, the best place to farm the candy drops is going to be Helena, the best place for instant noodles is going to be Nero and Maid Altar, and the best place for gold coins is going to be Nidocris. And remember, even if you miss farming a certain round, after all 4 rounds are complete, you can always go back and farm there again. It's also worth noting that after the 4 rounds are over, there's going to be a new dynamite difficulty that's going to appear for each team that has slightly better drop rates, but you don't have to wait for that to start farming. The drop rates aren't so much better that it's worth missing out on the early game QP, so just start farming right away. Of course, the next most important thing to farming the shop items is going to be farming the Ascension materials, and there's going to be a lot of Ascension materials available. In round 1, you can farm Spinal Fluids, Void Dust, and Longinose from Nero and Maid Altar. You can farm Spinal Fluids, Hero's Proof, and Longinose from Fran. Raiko is going to drop Longinose, Hero's Proof, and Void Dust. Helena will drop Longinose, Hero's Proof, and Void Dust as well. Nobu will drop Longinose, Phoenix Plumes, and Void Dust, while Nidocris will drop Longinose, Hero's Proof, Void Dust, and Phoenix Plumes. In round 2, Nero is going to be dropping Dragon Scales, Forbidden Pages, Yggdrasil Seeds, and Void Dust. Fran is going to be dropping Tear Stones, Homunculus Babies, and Void Dust. Raiko is going to be dropping Bloodstone Tears, Forbidden Pages, and Void Dust. Helena is going to be dropping Bloodstone Tears, Yggdrasil Seeds, and Void Dust. Nobu has Reverse Dragon Scales, Homunculus Babies, Hero's Proof, and Void Dust. And finally, Nidocris has Bloodstone Tears, Chains, and Void Dust. For round 3, you're going to be able to farm Lanterns and Void Dust off of Nero, Lanterns, Bones, Void Dust, and Metals off of Fran, Hero's Proof, Lanterns, Wine, Void Dust, Metals, and Horseshoes off of Raiko, Dragon Fangs, Wine, Void Dust, and Knight's Metals off of Helena, Lanterns, Bones, Hero's Proof, Void Dust, and Horseshoes off of Nobu, and Ghost Lanterns, Hero's Proof, Void Dust, and Horseshoes off of Nitocris. And finally, in round 4, Nero is going to drop Hearts, Ancient Gears, and Void Dust, while Fran is going to drop Hero's Proof, Void Dust, Night Metals, and Black Tar. Raiko is going to drop Hearts, Void Dust, Metals, and Horseshoes. Helena will drop Black Tar, Void Dust, and Metals. Nobu will drop Hero's Proof, Void Dust, Black Tar, and Horseshoes. And finally, Nitocris will drop Hearts, Void Dust, and Horseshoes. So this is going to be a great chance to grab some Hearts and some Wine especially. And the last major portion of this part of the event is the challenge quest. There's heavy emphasis on the challenge quest this time around. There's going to be 6 in total. You'll need to complete 4 of them in order to earn extra copies of Ishtar Rider so that you can get her to NP5. The other 2 challenge quests are going to reward you with an alternate costume for Maeve and a crystal lore. First up, we have a challenge quest against Lobo. The gimmick for this fight is he's going to be able to inflict instant death on you with his Noble Phantasm, which means anyone he NPs is likely going to die immediately, even if you have invincibility or evade. As such, your best strategy for this fight is literally just using BB. Not only does BB has class advantage over him as a Moon Cancer, but she also has a really low death rate, which means she may survive one of his Noble Phantasms. But if you don't have BB, then you're going to have to stick with your strongest Berserker, because it's the only way you're going to be able to deal damage to him. As for your supports, you're going to want to chain stun Lobo and basically stop him from using his Noble Phantasm. So servants like Tamamo, Waver, and Steno are all ideal for locking him down. Also, bring a taunt servant like Emiya Assassin, George, Mashu, or Leonidas in your back row. That way you can swap them in to eat an enemy Noble Phantasm if you need to. The second challenge quest is going to be against Enkidu. His gimmick is going to be that his buffs are near unremovable, and in the second phase of the fight, he is immune to debuffs. However, other than that, it's just a straightforward battle against a Lancer, so all you really need is a couple of strong sabers. There isn't much nuance here and it's pretty straightforward and easy. However, I will say that he does tend to focus Divine Servants, so do be careful if you bring a support like Tamamo. Moving on to the third challenge quest, this one is going to be 3 different servants in one. You're going to be up against Carmilla, Nightingale, and then Shinjuku Assassin. Once Shinjuku Assassin transforms into Nightingale, he will also get the ability to increase his HP recovery by 100%, but that isn't much of a threat. The biggest challenge of this fight is going to be when you get down to facing Shinjuku Assassin on his last break bar. He's going to have increased critical strength by 50%, but he's also going to be more susceptible to debuffs. If he crits you, it's going to hurt a lot. However, it's going to be very easy to stun him and NP drain him. Your best bet for this battle is going to be bringing your strongest offensive caster. If you have Nero, Sanzo, Ilya, or Medea, this can be a very easy fight. And finally, the fourth challenge quest is going to be against Gorgon. This is one of the hardest ones, as Gorgon is going to have a lot of HP, and she's also going to have a buff that allows her to land her stuns nearly every time. So you're going to have to deal with the fact that a lot of your servants are just going to be randomly stunned throughout the battle. What's more, once you bring Gorgon down to her last HP bar, she's going to have AoE attacks and she's going to crit a lot more often. So it's very possible when she's on her last HP bar that she can just wipe your team. Again, the best strategy here is going to be bringing BB because she can heal you and do a lot of damage as well as remove debuffs. However, if you don't have BB, it's going to be a lot more difficult. You're going to have to rely on servants that have debuff removal or debuff nullification, like Martha, Marie, Medea Lily, or Sanzo. And then of course you're going to have to rely on a very durable Berserker like Herc or Ku to carry you. Once you complete all 4 of those challenge quests, you will be able to NP5 your copy of Ishtar Rider. However, there are 2 additional challenge quests you can do for extra stuff. You can do the challenge quest against Maeve to unlock an additional costume for her. In this challenge quest, you're going to be up against Quetzalcoatl and Maeve, as well as an army of random Lancers. Both Maeve and Quetzalcoatl will be able to charge the team's NP gauge very rapidly, so you want to kill them as soon as possible. However, once you take down one of Maeve's break bars, she will cast Taunt on one of her allies, and if you take down one of Quetzalcoatl's break bars, she's going to give everyone a 20% attack buff. But don't let that scare you because this fight is pretty easy. Both Maeve and Quetzalcoatl have very low HP compared to the other challenge quest bosses, and they're both female riders, which means if you bring Jack or Carmilla along with you, you can absolutely melt both of them. You can also bring Shuten or any other AoE assassin with you, that way you can kill them both simultaneously. And finally, the last challenge quest, and in my opinion the real challenge quest of this event, is going to be against Ishtar and her bull, Gugalana. Ishtar herself is very easily dealt with. She has only 200,000 HP, so any single target Lancer can easily kill her, especially someone like Skahawk. However, the real challenge in this fight is Gugalana. He has the ability to remove all of the buffs on one of your allies. He can also decrease your Buster, Arts, and Quick Heart effectiveness by 20%, and he can also drain your crit stars and decrease your critical hit chance. In addition, once you break one of his break bars, he's going to remove the buffs from all your allies, and once you break both of his break bars, he's going to have the ability to increase his attack by 10% every time he hits you. So these are a lot of annoying skills to deal with, but probably the most difficult thing about this fight is that Gugalana is a rider, which means you cannot rely on caster supports to win. If you bring someone like Merlin, Tamamo, or Waver, they're very susceptible to being killed immediately. So you have to rely on non-traditional supports to really get through. I heavily suggest bringing Mosh, Emiya Assassin, and Shuten. Emiya Assassin and Shuten are both assassins, so they're going to be doing a lot of damage, but they're also really good supports. Shuten can stun and debuff the bull, and Emiya can NP drain the bull. And Mosh is just overall the best support you can have that's not a caster. On the offensive side of things, you're going to want a very powerful assassin. King Hassan is possibly the best offensive servant you could bring to this fight, because he's going to do a lot of damage, and he's very self-sustaining. But there really isn't any trick or easy way to beating this. You just have to grind it out with your best non-caster supports, and hope you don't get hit with buff removal at a bad time. And that just about wraps up everything I have to say about part 2 of this event. It is very similar to part 1, so it shouldn't be too complicated. However, your priority should be getting Ishtar immediately by completing the main quest, and also getting her additional copies from the shop by completing the challenge quest. And make sure you try to get 5 copies of Dive Into Blue, because it is a tremendously useful craft essence. Get whatever you need from the shop as well, and complete those extra challenge quests for that alternative Maeve costume and that crystal lore. If you do all that, you should walk out of this event feeling happy. And if this guide did help you, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Do check out those servant spotlights for the other summer servants, all linked in the description below. And if you haven't already, follow on Twitter, Twitch, and join the party on our Discord. And I will see you all in the next servant spotlight. Sobroni out. Later.